have a great guest today, our client, Harrison Fisher. Harrison, just maybe a little over a year ago, became our client. He came to us looking for a franchise. He's now the owner of Best Choice Roofing in Lafayette, Louisiana. Harrison is kicking ass with his franchise. I'm so proud of him. Harrison, welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate it, Jack. I definitely appreciate y'all having me. It wasn't too long ago that I was listening to these type of podcasts, and now I'm sitting here on the other end of it. So
now you're our star.
Now you're officially a podcast person. Now you're on a franchise podcast, and the cool thing is, Harrison, people are going to want to hear from you. They're going to want to hear your story and what's enabled you to be so successful. Maybe before we get into that, though, you're a relatively young dude. It feels like most franchisees that come to us are in their 40s and 50s. Are you even 30 yet?
No, I just turned 29 last month.
Wow. Amazing.
I mean, can you imagine if we would have started becoming business owners at 20, 28, 29 years old?
I mean, listen, I'm glad we are where we are,
right.
But yes, there's a lot of potential. So that's awesome.
You're so, I mean, honestly, and this is not to patronize you, you're so smart for getting started so early because, you know, to have that sort of stability of being a business owner early on is a great thing. So Harrison, you came to us, you were already a project manager with Honeywell, I believe. Is that right? Is that what you were doing before?
Yeah, so I worked with Honeywell for a while in the chemical plants, and then I went over to the contracting side. So I believe whenever we were working together, I was working for GIS Industrial, which is another contracting firm, just design and build chemical plants.
Yeah. And what struck me about Harrison was he was so confident, right? He had already done so much research on franchises. He knew what he wanted. He knew he wanted to be in home services. But Harrison, tell us about you. You know, what brought you to, you know, your journey of becoming a franchise owner and ultimately beginning that franchise search?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I was working in the chemical plants, kind of in the engineering and construction world. And while I really liked the business, it was a little bit slow for me, and I was living out of town. I'm from Lafayette, really wanted to get back to Lafayette. So whenever I first came to y'all, or before I first came to y'all, I wanted to make an investment. And, you know, everybody talks about doing real estate. That never really had the sparkle I was looking for. So wanted to own my own business, but, you know, I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and said, I'm not really ready to make the jump and start something brand new from the ground up. So that's what kind of had me looking at franchising. And someone approached me kind of out of the blue, I guess 2-3 years ago, about a franchise that was for sale in New Orleans. So that's my first, I guess, dip into the franchise world, looked at the FDD and kind of learned, man, you can see how much money these things can make and kind of get a game plan before you even buy in. So I like that in comparison to starting a business from scratch. So when I came to y'all, I was originally planning on getting something semi-absentee or absentee. Just wanted kind of a side gig that I could keep my job, continue working for GIS, and kind of have something on the side. So I ended up Googling, because at this point I'm on Biz Buy Sell. I'm looking at every single franchise, and it's overwhelming. And I have a list of 20 that I like, but I can't get information on these. I can't get information on those. Found out there's franchise consultants. So I started Googling who really specialize in semi-absentee and absentee, because that is a very specific franchise. And that's when I came across y'all's page. And I think there was 2 or 3 consultants that I kind of researched through that we've talked about in the past, and just kind of felt like y'all are a good fit. That's when I booked my call, and we dove into the semi-absentee and absentee options. And that's whenever, I don't know if you remember this, but whenever we decided, man, if I'm really going to jump into this, I need to find something. I don't want it to be a side gig. I'm going to do this full time. So if I'm going to do it full time, I want there to be enough meat on the bones to come out of the gate swinging. So that's whenever we found Best Choice Roofing. And I think I actually mentioned, I was like, I really like roofing. And you were like, Best Choice Roofing. I was like, yes. So that's kind of my story. Wanted a side gig, started looking into it, decided to jump right in, and y'all helped me every step of the way.
There is a text, and I love your story, and your energy has always been. And Harrison and I still text all the time. I mean, we're always kind of we're checking in, and he's staying on top of things. He knows, he watches on LinkedIn what franchises people are buying. But my favorite text from Harrison is maybe it was 3 months into his ownership of Best Choice. I just checked in. Hey, how's it going? He sends me this text and he says, "Oh, I've been meaning to reach out to you. Here's what happened. In our first half a month, he made more in his first half a month. His business grossed more in its first half month than I made in an annual, that you and I made when we worked in the casinos."
Yes, I remember this. Yes, amazing.
I mean, listen, we had a lot of fun. She worked at when I worked at MGM. But what you did in a half month was more than what we made in an entire year.
Yeah.
And then what you did in your first full month, dude, I mean, it's insane.
No, I remember that. That is incredible.
Roofing is one of those businesses. I mean, they probably have the best item 19 in franchising. Best Choice Roofing might have the best item 19. And Harrison, you're almost a year in. Would you say you feel like you're on track to doing what those item 19 numbers showed you that you could do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I was about to go into real numbers, but no. So yeah, absolutely. We're tracking that. We were planning on surpassing that by like month 7 or 8, but we were going to be planning on opening up a second location. And instead of opening up that second location, we decided to just have a sales team at the second location and not put a brick and mortar up. And that's allowed us to kind of keep our overhead down. It did kind of lower our revenue goals, but it lowered our overhead, so it washed out to be an actual more profitable solution. So as far as their item 19, we're on track to almost duplicate exactly what they say you can do in the first year.
I love that. And, I think what you're doing is really smart. We're doing it with our Pinks franchise. It's like we just found out this week we are leading the pack.
We are this week.
In revenue. Now, listen,
Awesome.
We were getting our ass kicked a few weeks ago. There are some great franchisees. I'm not trying to rub it in. We love our franchisee partners, but that's part of what I love about being a franchise owner is that competitive, spirit of the group.
Yeah.
But one thing that has helped us really take things to the next level is we've decided to spend more on advertising than we initially planned. We've invested in adding another tech to our jobs to get them done quicker. And what we found is that we're like the revenue over the past 2 weeks has just like jumped. And so at Pinks, like they want each truck to do a certain amount per week. And we're nailing it for the first time this week, and we're 8 weeks in, we're nailing it.
Yeah.
And next week we're already
on track.
70% there. So it's funny how it happens, right? In the beginning, you're like, oh man, is this really going to happen? And then all of a sudden it starts to happen. So
he was half a month in doing great.
Yeah, we can't touch what Harris. We can't touch what you did in your first.
It's amazing. It's a goal, but it's so good to hear because I think so many people, I mean, again, we hear all these numbers, we hear all these expectations, and sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. And, we love hearing from everyone because it doesn't always move fast, but then for some people it does. That's great.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Harrison, how important in roofing for us, like getting Google reviews is like total digital currency, right? That's what builds our business. For roofing, is it as important for you guys?
So yeah, it definitely is. Because the way we operate, we go to a homeowner's house. They might have heard of us. They might not have, and we let them know our services. And a lot of people, if they haven't heard of us, or even if they have, the first thing they want to do is hop on Google and let me know. Let's see what's going on with this roofing company, because I'm in South Louisiana. We have hurricanes. Whenever we have hurricanes, we have storm chasers coming from all over the country.
Right.
And roofers do not have the best reputation, just from these big storms. That's what people remember is they had roofers that were just chucking a truck coming and might have not done the best business. So people are kind of skeptical. So they use those reviews all the time. So we make sure, one of our biggest goals is 5-star reviews. On my GM, we have like a list of 5 things of like, these are the things you cannot handle without me. And if anybody decides we're going to be leaving a bad review, as those like a Google review, that is something that comes all the way to the top immediately.
Sure.
So we can de-escalate that and make sure we leave the homeowner happy. So absolutely, we're actually about to run a little competition with our sales team to see who can get the most reviews over the next 2-3 weeks. So
I love that. That is smart.
Yeah.
And it's so important, because in today's, it's like, Jill and I were just looking at restaurants for we're going somewhere this weekend. And what do? We look at reviews.
Yeah. I mean, but again, in a customer service based business, it's very important because, especially like you said, not a lot of people know about roofing. Not a lot of people are experts in window washing or power washing. So they want to see the experience. What are other people saying? Did they like them? How is their staff? Like, it's very important to know that it's that reassurance. It's it's the referral without having to get like an actual referral. So, it's important in all service based business, but we're all depending on it now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first place we all go just to check out, make sure someone's legit, because like you said, there's a lot of people that aren't, that, come in and maybe, it's, what is it? Like a horse and pony show, whatever.
Dog and pony.
Dog and pony. Never get those things right. But they look good, they talk the part, and then the service is bad. So
yeah,
the reviews really validate that.
It's the currency. It really is digital currency of our business,
especially with home services.
Right.
Yeah.
Harrison, as far as like support, training, coaching, mentoring, how's BCR been for you on that front?
So they've been really good. I was one of the first franchisees, so I was a single digit franchisee, and going in, I knew that was going to come with some, I'm learning how to be a franchisee and they're learning how to be a franchisor.
Yeah.
That was known from the jump. So there was a few gaps in the training, but the good thing about Best Choice Roofing is they are very open-eared. It's not they want to know feedback and they actually take action on that. They actually just came up with they did it a couple months ago, but they had their first franchise advisory council. So they have actual franchisees that are operating that meet 2-3 times a year, and they come up with changes on policies and the way we handle things, the way communication is, the way we do, the relationship between the franchisor and the franchisee, which is huge. So there was a few lapses, but they've taken their feedback and expanded it. I mean, one of the things was, say, QuickBooks support. I told them I've never been a business owner. Like, QuickBooks is kind of foreign to me. Within a couple months, I went back to Nashville to their headquarters, and we ran a refresher training with QuickBooks for a whole week. Me and my general manager. So they've been very receptive, and I would say they're in a very good place now with their training program.
Yeah, we were in a similar spot with Pinks. We were fairly new franchisees with them. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But man, it's like anytime someone asked me the other day, they're like, could I just start my own window washing company? I'm like, you could, but you wouldn't have the branding that we have. You would never have the coaching and the mentoring. I mean, it's like I was on a mentor coach. We do a coaching call every week with our Pink support team and with all the franchisees. And just every week it's a different challenge, right? Every week it's go get, find a new referral partner, go find leads. Today it was, hey, go find contacts, go create clients that didn't come from the Google and Facebook advertising we do for you. Go find it yourself. And that's not to try and sort of schlep the responsibility on franchisees, but it's to get people comfortable with going out and eating what they kill.
Yeah.
Because the more revenue you have, I mean, of course, Google, Facebook probably gets us 30-40% of the way there.
Right.
Thumbtack gets us another, 20-30%. But the rest we've got to build relationships. And I'm sure you guys see the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned the referral program, because I've just typed up a referral program this morning that we're going to be running another little competition on getting in with the realtors and the mortgage companies and the home inspectors, because we're seeing a shift in the market down here where homes that are being sold, they will not insure the house if the roof is 10 years or older. So just like that, we're kind of pivoting to getting in front of these clients.
Yes.
So the referrals are, I can't even put into words how important they are.
Yeah, that's huge. I met with a realtor group here too, and they want to have a list of vendors. It makes it so much easier for them because they can just confidently hand it over and say, okay, we got to work on your roof. So here's who we recommend, and those customers, those clients are more than happy to take that referral. So it's really just getting in front of them, letting them know who you are, what you do, and forming that relationship. It'll be amazing for your business because they don't want the hassle of looking someone up. They don't want to inconvenience their clients. So I think, going in that direction for you is great. We see it here too, but it's such a good program, like a referral program, to work with realtors or anyone that needs home services. Property managers also, those are key too. So
yeah.
Hey, Harrison, I'm curious. So you're working the business full time. By the way, it's surprising to me, but not. So many people that come to us that reach out about semi-absentee, absentee franchise ownership end up being full-time owner operators. And that's not because the franchisor pulled some kind of trick on them. It's just because when you own a business, once it gets going,
it's exciting.
You want to be involved.
Yeah.
But sometimes in the beginning, the idea of running it while you keep your job, in life, we need that kind of comfort, right? We need to know, hey, maybe as I start, I could do it part-time. I'll have people to help me. But then as you get into it, you're like, no, I've got this. I can do it.
Yeah.
But my question to you is this. You're working your business full-time. How's your work-life balance? Like if you want to go golf, or I don't know what you like to do in your spare time, but do you find you have more, compared to when you were working for someone else, how's like the freedom and the control and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty awesome. And I'm actually not working it full time anymore. We were, I guess, ever since, I guess, the first of the year, my GM was in place, but we were kind of both handling operations. She was coming up to speed, and it's my little baby, my first baby. So I was a little bit stubborn to kind of take her leash off and let her go. But as of, I guess, April 1st, I've kind of stepped away, kind of let them do their thing. So I've only been working probably 20 hours a week or so, letting them kind of do their thing. So I don't know if that's considered semi-absentee, but I'm pretty bored in the mornings because I'm waiting to come in till 10. Today I went to go eat breakfast at a diner by myself like I was 90 years old drinking coffee. So it's been nice. So the work-life balance over the past month has been great. Before that, I was only working like 40 hours a week. It wasn't like I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So it's been good. And I mean, this past month, like I said, I've never worked this little ever.
We gotta find you something else to do.
Yeah, we can help you with that. But okay, so let's just circle back on that. So you're working about 20 hours a week, and you're a pretty diligent dude. So I know you're watching your business. You have a 7-figure business. You're barely a year in, and that's absolutely semi-absentee, by the way. And you've got a business that's growing. You've got more time freedom.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are listening, that are on the fence, wondering about franchise ownership, I mean, that's it. I mean, you
can't find a better story than that.
No, that's awesome.
And
I love it. I mean, Harrison, that's mission accomplished for what we first set out on.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because when you're in the thick of it, you're like, there's times. I mean, business ownership is not for the faint of heart. There's times that you're way up high, and there's times that you're way up low. Yeah. And my buddies always ask me that, hey, how is it owning a business compared to having a job? And I said, much higher highs and much lower lows. But as long as you shake back and you have the intentions of seeing what you're trying to build, because there's a few times that I got a little bit worried. I was like, okay, I'm going to get swallowed into this, and I'm not going to be able to make another move or have another company and have the time to deal with it. But from day one, even talking with you, like the whole intention was to get to a spot where you can work on your business and not in your business. And I've really taken that to heart. The intention was to get here the whole time. So I guess for anybody listening, if that's the goal and you have those intentions, make the plan and stick to that plan, and and see it through, because it definitely can happen. And I wanted to touch on, you said, can you leave or take any time off? And absolutely. There's, I wouldn't say we're at a point where I can go on an open-ended vacation for an extended period of time, but like next week I'll be in Cancun with my girlfriend. One of her friends are getting married, so we're going to Memphis for a couple days because one of my family members is graduating, my little sister. She's gonna be an eye doctor. And then we're going from there to Cancun, so it'll be 6 days out of the office, and our management team here will be rocking and rolling. So
That's awesome. I'll never forget when I was at Home Care Assistance, which was the franchise that my family had built. We had a franchise owner up in Vancouver, and he said to me, your business is running good when you leave he went back to like the Philippines, and he says, so we were gone for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, and when I came back, sales were better than when I was here. So he's like, I'm excited about that, but also it's like, I'm also like kind of a little bit offended that like they could do more sales without me. But, again, it's like anything, right? You look at like how commercial airliners are built to fly for 30, 40 years. A good franchise should be built to where if it is operated, if it's staffed effectively, it can do all those things and it can deliver that kind of freedom and dependability.
Yeah.
But Harrison, you're absolutely right. I think the best advice, it's like last week, our guest Hector, who owns the Senior Helpers franchise, he said, check your ego at the door. Mm-hmm. And boy, as a franchise owner, that's something I had to learn. And what you're saying this week, don't let the highs get you too high and the lows get you too low. I think that is sage advice, because we all have that. We have those weeks where it's like, oh man, this is hard. And then other weeks where it's like, I'm on top of the freaking world, right, and I can't be stopped. And I think either way, when you're in those periods, you have to remember that there's
a middle ground,
right,
there too. But I mean, it's good to have them both. You can't have the highs without the lows and all of that. But it's to be expected. That's what you're going to encounter, and that they don't always stay. So when you're low, you're not going to be there forever. When you're high, it's great. But, this is not necessarily your new reality too. So I love that too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, we're at I'm sorry, Harrison, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, yes, last week's episode, whenever he said check your ego at the door, that really hit home, because no matter in franchise business ownership, while you have all the support you need, you have to be able to use it, and you have to admit to yourself that you need that help. And yes, no matter where you come from before, you will only get out of a franchise what you put into it. So you could be the best employee in the world, have the most money in the world, whoever. If you don't put the work in, you will not get it. And vice versa. You could come from the other side of the ladder and really dig in and pour into it, and you will get out what you put in. So to check the ego at the door, it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. You better get ready to work and get your stuff in place.
100%. 100%. Well, Harrison, we are at the 23 minute mark here. I think we've covered a lot. Is there anything else you want to cover? Any message you might have to someone exploring franchises? I think for the message I'd love to hear from you is I want to see more people who are under 30 exploring franchise ownership. And I think that to see you, here you are, a year into not even a year into franchise ownership, with a 7-figure business with more time freedom. What would your message be to younger franchise investors?
Just go ahead and do it. Get a consultant, because that is a big, scary world out there trying to figure out what business to operate in. And people like Jack and Jill live it. They know the ins and the outs. They know the good ones. They know the bad ones. So I would highly recommend working with a consultant. Number two, if you're really looking to get into business, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, are you ready to open up your own business? And my answer was no. But I admitted to myself that I was not ready to do that. But I said, if I have a playbook and a support team behind me, can I do it? And the answer was absolutely. Yeah. So if you feel like you're ready to take that risk, I would highly recommend just go for it. Invest in yourself. The best thing you could ever do. My dad told me that. My father was not in on this decision-making process. I just wanted to make it on my own. And by the time I bought in and told him, all he said was, "I'm proud of you for investing in yourself. You'll never regret it." And I take those to heart. So go for it. Get you a good consultant, take the leap, dig in.
I love it. And you know what? Doesn't it feel good? I mean, I know, so we've got our franchise consulting business. That's what we spend most of our time on. But to have Pinks and to have it growing, to have that asset growing and have other people helping us do it, to be a part of that, it just helps me sleep so much better at night to see that kind of rising up and growing, like you said, to invest in ourselves. I love it. It just, you can see your future. Like for us, we bought a franchise because we wanted it to get to a place where within 5 years, that could really be our breadwinner. And, with over 3,500 different franchises out there, Harrison's right. You don't just have to work with Jill and me. There's a lot of franchise consultants, but I do recommend anyone out there who's looking at a franchise, just like you use a realtor to explore home ownership, use a franchise consultant, one who has a lot of connections and a lot of experience. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, and thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Harrison.
Absolutely.
So Harrison, thank you so much for being on our podcast. You've been a great, friend and client, and we hope to continue our dialogue with you. And for this week, I'm Jack.
I'm Jill, and
I guess I'm Harrison.
And we bought a franchise.
We all bought a franchise.
We'll talk to you on the next episode. Thanks again, Harrison. It was great having you on the podcast.
We bought a franchise. We did our research, looked at all the options, then we found Pink's Windows down in Austin. Now we got a truck and a team, and we're gonna make this whole town clean.